If you've been on TikTok in the last few months, especially before the ban, you probably remember this side of TikTok.
Meet John Doe. He's in his early 20s and eager to jump into the workforce. He sees a job listing that looks perfect to him. So he brushes up his resume, he writes an awesome cover letter, applies, and then waits. So after a month or so, he actually sees the same job posting relisted, which makes him super frustrated. John isn't alone. Many people are frustrated by applying to these kinds of jobs that seem to have no intention of hiring anyone.
You see, I didn't just see this on TikTok or the news. I experienced it firsthand. And until 2023, I would have never imagined myself being in this position. Desperate for a job amidst one of the toughest job markets we've seen in decades. In this video, I'm sharing the journey of how I was unemployed for a year and a half and the lessons I learned from it. I struggled to perform well in high school, and I was also lonely and miserable. I got my grades up in college, but at the expense of my health, wellness, and relationships. When I graduated, I made it my mission to optimize my health, build more fulfilling relationships, and get clarity on my outlook in life. I made it my mission to succeed without burning out. And I'm bringing you along with me. If this sounds like you, press the like button on this video and then subscribe. So growing up as a child of immigrants, I learned that the best way to succeed in this country is to work a 9-to-5 in a career field that pays the most and move up the corporate ladder. I was essentially taught by my parents, passion does not matter. The only thing that matters is what pays the most money, and a job is the way to get there. Get the fanciest VP position, work your butt for 15, 20, 30 years to get there until you retire when you're 65. And obviously I can't blame my parents because they came here on an H-1B visa. So, the only option they really had was to get a job and stay in the corporate world for life. And after COVID, I learned about all these job market crashes and people with 5 years of experience struggling to land entry-level positions. And at the time, I was working for a startup in the public sector, and I was laughing it off because I was like, as long as I'm strategic about the industry I'm working with, I should be fine, especially given that I'm working with the government and working with nonprofit organizations in helping to combat misinformation. And I felt very comfortable and driven because I was living the dream that my immigrant parents made for me until I had a call with my coworker. It was like a normal meeting. It was supposed to be to work on a project or something, right? It was just like to sync up, debug this, debug that. And the first thing he says to me, "Hey, I just want to let you know that this is my last day at the organization." And I was in shock. What? I thought he was a person that was well regarded at the organization. He actually, the CEO gave him a praise in a public meeting, right? Saying I see the leadership in him and we want to promote this person. And I asked him why he was leaving. And they said, they let me go out of nowhere. And for the first time, I'm actually feeling the gravity of these job market crashes, especially the fact that the stuff that I've been hearing about on TikTok, as well as the news.
What? But you can't do this to me.
It's now getting personal. I know that my job is not safe right now. I remember that day, I went to my friend's house and I was just so defeated. And I know my friend was doing a thing that he made online income for it, but it was also a very risky decision. It was doing this coach, learning how to become an online coach and make content to market your brand to other people and sell a coaching program essentially, right? And I was so desperate at the time. I would take any opportunity to become financially stable because I know that I'm gonna have to fight for every single dollar. So then I decided to put thousands of dollars on the line and enroll in this coaching program on how to become a successful coach and run a coaching business. Months go by and I'm working my job, but also doing this thing called quiet quitting. where I'm doing the bare minimum. And on the side, I'm also making content for this coaching business and essentially trying to sell myself to clients, but very unsuccessfully. Completely blind to the fact that I'm just way too desperate and I'm not really doing it for the right reasons, but we'll get to that later, right? Also on the side, I'm trying to find a job, but I know I can't just like send out applications because my application's not going to be seen. So I end up going to these third-party agencies, not the ones that the recruiters DM me for LinkedIn, but I'm talking about like the people on Fiverr that you pay to like apply for like hundreds or even thousands of jobs for you, right? So I remember getting this interview and I get the job offer. So I take it. I was like, finally, I can switch jobs and hopefully I'm safer. But there's one caveat. Through this job offer, I end up losing $15,000. And that's because I give them authorization to use my card to get equipment, completely blind to the fact that these quote unquote jobs that ask you to pay money for equipment don't exist. And I know it's a very stupid decision and I highly regret it. But we'll get to the lessons learned later, okay? So I've just lost $15,000, basically my entire savings. And I have to get income fast. And at this point, I'm not getting a job anytime soon. So instead of applying to more jobs and learning how to properly revamp my resume and properly go through the job search process, I'm spending a lot more time grinding on these quick online income schemes like affiliate marketing, coaching, YouTube paid community. And I'm doing this for the next 1 year. And in this year and the 6 months after of me actually applying to jobs, I'm learning the hard way of what a job truly means in the context of purpose. And these lessons finally allowed me to get a well-paying job. And then the 6 months I spend actually applying and interviewing for jobs. During this past year and a half, I really spent time transforming my mindset. And I learned that hard times build strong people. Going through the job market and getting all these job rejections, I'm learning that whatever career advice got you through the door before won't even get you on the doorstep. In other words, exceptional is the new mediocre. See, previously I used to apply to jobs and I used to just, I would just make sure I have all the qualifications and I would just list those qualifications out in every interview and I would get job offers. But now you have to do more than that, right? You can't just say you're qualified for the job. You have to understand what each job description is about and not only say your qualifications or how your qualifications will specifically meet the business need better than the other thousands of candidates. In other words, you have to really understand what companies look for and the what, how, and why involved in each job description, meaning what the job description is about or what the business need is, how the required qualifications meet that business need, and why that business need or why the hiring manager even put those business needs in that job description in the first place. And basically, the thing that differentiates many candidates in every single interview is how well a candidate can break down that job description in terms of the business needs. So because job descriptions and the business need is more important, your passion for a certain job that you apply to will now be scrutinized times 10 in every interview. That means every single job you apply to has to be perfectly aligned with your dream career. Or at least this job has to be at least a step in the right direction towards your dream career. And I learned this through failing multiple times in interviews. Like I'm talking about dozens and dozens of interviews saying like, oh, I'm sorry, we weren't able to offer you the position. We chose other candidates, like blah, blah, blah. I learned this the hard way because I realized that I was so robotic, especially in interviews for jobs that I wasn't truly passionate about. Obviously, I'm grateful for the people I interviewed, but ultimately, I realized that those jobs ultimately weren't part of my dream career, and it showed in the interview. I also learned that you can't just apply to jobs because ultimately, especially in this job market, your net worth is not determined by your qualifications and your passion. It's determined by your network. There's a phrase, I forgot, there was this Instagram influencer who hosted an event called "Network is your net worth," right? And this phrase really resonated with me because I noticed the larger my professional network got, the more interviews I was getting and the more chances I had to succeed. So you have to use this time to not only optimize your LinkedIn, but at least try to aim for going to at least one in-person event a week and trying to get as many leads as possible for jobs. Obviously build a human connection with them, but don't be afraid to state in these events or even on LinkedIn, I'm looking for a job and I'm interested in working in this career, this position, and working in this field. The more specific you get, the more people will network with you. I also learned to be grateful. Now, it's been a year and a half, and amidst the spending all this time grinding on quick income sources just shows how hopeless I felt. And it shows the pressure and tension I put on not only myself, but my family. Because obviously, because I grew up in an immigrant family and inflation and a bad job market, in addition to a new presidential administration, my family felt the strain of finances and the pressure was put on me to really land this job or at least get the income. But amidst all the fighting that happened with my family, and I mean, I'm not blaming anyone, it was just a situation that really took a toll on us. I learned to double down on the art and practice of gratitude. Despite that I fought with them a lot, I became grateful for my parents because even though we were fighting and it was hard to do this, I realized that my parents ultimately want the best for me, right? And they knew, despite that they didn't say this, how much I was struggling. So they decided to go out of their way to give me that breathing room to hone my career path. Thanks to my parents, I was able to at least fund my own place, like get my own apartment outside of New York City and a space where I can really focus on my own and build my life while searching for a job. They also gave me money for like food and health insurance, and they bought clothes so I can look confident and spiffed up for interviews. Not only did I realize how much support I had from my parents, but I also realized how much support I had for the other people in my network who went above and beyond to help me in this journey. And that's why I'm stressing going to networking events and really expanding your network. Like, I usually say quality over quantity, but this is why I stress in this situation, quantity over quality. Because I had like dozens, when I say dozens, I'm talking at least like 60, 70 people who helped me by covering for food and drinks, making sure it was at least like taken care of in terms of nutrition during this year and a half. I had people going out of the way to like do some job searching for me and send me job postings that I might like. Like they would spend hours a day on that. And they also gave me temporary work opportunities so I can at least like boost my resume and income, including the people that were founding a startup that I helped to work on for the latter half of this journey. And with all these people helping me, I became grateful for the time that I got. But even though I had all this time, I realized I really had to use this time wisely. Because I know that my job search isn't my life, right? I mean, there's other parts of my life that are also lacking. And I decided that because I have all this time on my hands, I can use it to grow outside of my career. I used this time to practice my social skills by literally going to, and get this, thanks to the people that helped me fund my dream, I joined a luxury gym in New York City. So like, I'm talking about at least $100 a month to talk to people and practice my social skills. And given the practice of talking to like dozens of very, very high caliber people, like I'm talking about executives like banks, right? I was able to perform better and relate to the interviewer. And every interview I did, even though it took me a long time to finally get the position, I noticed myself getting better and better feedback from the interviewers. And just like seeing their body language change from, and get this, my first interview, I remember my interviewer saying like, don't apply for this position again. You did not come off strong. I just do not think you'd be a fit for a long time. All the way to saying, you were one of the final candidates we were considering. It just came down to very small things. And that was definitely helped by talking to people, particularly working on my communication skills and be able to communicate my skills and interest and fit for a position properly. It helped also build a network of other people to get me more interviews. And it also helped me resolve conflicts better. And you might be asking, how does that have to do with interview performance? Well, I mean, obviously in interviews, no one is perfect, right? And there's always going to be moments where an interviewer is going to question an answer or consider, wait, given this answer, is this person really the best fit for the position? And conflict resolution skills go really far in helping to mitigate that resistance and saying, oh, that wasn't the best answer. I can tell when an interviewer is kind of like a little bit resistant or questioning my fit, and kind of plant good seeds to reassure him that I have a growth mindset and that all is good with my candidacy, despite that may have messed up. Essentially, I learned how to use that resistance to actually make me a stronger candidate for a position. And because I joined a luxury gym, mainly to network with high caliber people, I also used this time to work on my physical fitness, because staying active is key to productivity and making sure you're focused and present in applications and interviews. And also changing your body and being able to lose body fat and build muscle. And also changing your body for the better gives you that confidence you need to push through dozens of rejections and failed interviews. Especially as you go through every new interview, getting into shape definitely correlates with more confidence in each interview amidst feeling dejected. During this time, I also took a lot of time to reflect on my process of success and learning how to learn, right? I really studied how I use the scientific method or using hypothesis testing and the process of experimenting with new tactics for my job search and my personal growth journey to teach myself new skills along the way. Because ultimately I learned how to hone my process of trying something new or a new tactic or a new skill in job searching or a new career skill, and embracing the failure and knowing that failures breed direction. In essence, I learned my process of learning how to learn by adapting and experimenting. Finally, during this time, I got some breathing room to really connect with my faith as a Hindu. And I put my faith in Bhagwan by studying the Gita, which I have right here. During this time, I really doubled down on connecting with my faith as a practicing Hindu. And I got closer to Bhagwan by studying the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagwan taught me that the challenges I faced were essentially like tests from God, asking whether I really wanted to grow. Essentially, I realized that God was testing how much I really wanted to grow and how much pain I could endure. And essentially, this year and a half was a time when God decided to teach me a lesson that I needed to trust in Bhagwan. Trust that my hard work and prayers would be answered. And I'm proud to say that my prayers were indeed answered, because I landed a job a few weeks ago. And I'm excited to see where this journey takes me. It was the moment I got that job offer, it was such a relief I remember the recruiter calling me and saying, good news, we liked you, offered you the job, here's your salary, we're gonna send you the offer letter in a couple of days. The offer letter was sent. And I remember telling my friend, almost crying, I was actually almost about to cry because I realized that God was just telling me to hold on just a little bit longer. And I finally got out of the cliff. I'm excited to see this journey. And given this new breathing room, and now I actually got back on my feet. And given that I'm back on my feet, I'm excited to see myself exploring my dreams and seeing what life has in store for me next. And I'm also thinking that a lot of you are struggling right now, and we're likely in a recession. And I just want to let you know that if you're feeling stuck, you're not alone. I want you to connect with me, and even feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, which is linked below, because I want you to feel like you have support from me, and I want to pay the support that the 60 to 70 plus people gave me forward. So if you need help, or you want to follow my journey as I discover myself and ultimately discover my dreams, feel free to subscribe, but also feel free to DM me if you need anything, because like I said before, I really want to pay this favor forward.